Hi everybody and welcome back to Wednesday Night Live. Tonight we're going to talk about Patient Polly. So Patient Polly's flower is the begonia, which actually means patience, believe it or not. So what I love about patience is it's something that I have very little of, or I used to have very little of. But the definition of patience is remaining calm when something is out of your control. And so for me, the biggest part of that is something out of your control. Because if we could control it, we would speed up the process or make it happen faster or whatever it is, whatever we're impatient about. If we're in control of it, we wouldn't have that impatient feeling. So the fact that this thing is out of our control, for me, is one of the big key things or key awareness points that I had when I was really coming to terms with my impatience and learning to have more patience, is that it's out of my control. So you can't bring it into your control either, which is even more frustrating because it's something that somebody else is handling, or it's a universal thing, or whatever it is. So let's take the example that you're manifesting and you really want something and you really want it now. Well, that manifesting process is relying on your belief systems, it's relying on your visualization. All these things come into play, but in essence, it's this universal timing that's going to bring this manifestation into place. And it's so interesting that I've had so many manifestations where I thought that was what I wanted and they never came to fruition. And then when I look back, I go, oh, I actually didn't want that. I moved on, and if I'd got that, I would have been stuck in a position where I wouldn't have wanted to be. So this universal timing is this beautiful thing that happens with manifestation. But it can feel really impatient because you don't have the whole picture because it's out of your control. Let's pretend you're in a shopping line and you're waiting and you're waiting, or you're on hold for something and you're waiting and you're waiting and you become impatient. That's out of your control. You can't just jump to the front of the line. So it's really interesting, and especially for me, because we talked about shadow values, and one of my shadow values is a control. And it just triggers all my control things, and that's why patience is such a big thing for me. I know other people who don't have an issue with patience at all, and they can sit there waiting, and if they order something online, they're quite happy to wait weeks and weeks and weeks for it to come. Whereas I'm very much, I need it now, and that's the thing about the control piece. So what can we do about that? I also talked about patience in the book, and I had three main little awareness pieces around why I am impatient, and one of them was fear of missing out. So when other people get something, I might need to have it as well, so that buy tickets now because there's only 10 left or whatever, that really triggers my impatience, so I jump on. Then there was also the sense of increased self-importance, which was a really interesting one, that I feel like I'm more important than everybody else, so I should move to the front of the queue. These aren't really nice things to know about yourself, but they're really great awareness pieces to have so that you can help yourself be a more balanced person. And that's what we're really striving for at the end of the day. So for me, having those awareness pieces of what little triggers or these areas like the FOMO and the sense of self-importance, that really helped me open up my perspective and my awareness around what it was for me with patience, and also the control thing, like that's massive. So for you, that's what I'd invite you to do. If you are really an impatient person like I am, and you struggle with patience, then that's what I'd really invite you to do. Bring your self-awareness to times where you are feeling impatient, and start to ask yourself, what is it about this situation that's triggering me? Is it the fact that I'm missing out? Is it the fact that I feel better than other people? These aren't going to be things that you're going to like about yourself, but that's okay. Like, nobody's judging you on that. You know, we all have little things quirky things that we want to change, and that's the whole point of this change journey, really, is to find all these little things about ourselves that we go, actually, that's not really nice. I want to change that. So really looking at the times when you become impatient, what are the triggers for that? And you'll find that there'll be specific triggers. And if you keep monitoring the impatient times, you'll get to see that there's a pattern. So then what you do is that you bring your awareness to those. So let's take the sense of self-importance. If I'm standing in a line, what makes me more important than those 3 other people in front of me? Well, nothing. So I go, okay, well, I've just realised that this old trait has triggered in me, and that's bringing in my impatience. And actually, what makes me better than those people? Well, nothing. So now I'm able to stand here and be patient and wait for the cue to go forward, because I'm not better than them. And I just had another thought then, is one of my other things is customer service. So, and these all come back to your values. So when you really understand your values, both your positive values and your shadow values, because I've just talked about all of mine, one of my values is customer service. Like, I like really good customer service. It doesn't have to mean that I come first. It just means that you keep me abreast of what's happening. So if I'm somewhere where the salesperson is really bad or rude, then my impatience level's just off the charts. And I'll be rude back. And I guess that's one of the things that happens with impatience, is it makes you this rude person, which is what I don't like, and one of the things that I wanted to really change when I started having my patience awareness. So I invite you to start looking at your values that we did already, and then we can look at your shadow values. I'm happy to do that one-on-one with people. And then start to go, well, how are these all playing out, and how is this affecting my impatience? Because when you have this awareness, and when you can start to change these little things about you, then you start to love yourself more, and you start to appreciate yourself more, and you start to believe in yourself more. And that's the beauty of the change journey, and that's what we're aiming for. So just as an example, for me, we were getting, with all our painting and our house renovations that we did, we were getting some plantation shutters. The lead time for a plantation shutter is 10 weeks, which in the old days would have been horrific for me. But you know what? I was like, okay, 10 weeks. And we've had 10 long weeks. Like, it was the beginning of June. We've been in lockdown since the end of June, and we've gone through winter with plastic hanging off our windows. And then last Friday we got our plantation shutters, and it was such a beautiful day. But it was really lovely to observe my patience level during those 10 weeks with my newfound awareness and my change journey skills, is that I didn't actually allow myself to step into impatience. When it got closer to the 10 weeks, I just rang them, and I was really polite on the phone, and I just said, I just want to see when my blinds are coming. And she said, yeah, it's going to be next week. Then we went into lockdown and they stopped all the tradies, so we waited another 2 weeks. And then we had to wait another week because they had a backlog. So even in those delays, I kept my patience. I was polite and I was nice, and I was this whole new person. And that is the power of awareness. And that is the power of everything we talk about, is self-awareness. So that when you can see what it is that you're doing, and you have these bits of yourself, like these shadow values, or these FOMOs, or these sense of greater self-importance than other people, and they're things that you go, I actually don't like that about myself, you can change. So for Patient Polly, for you, really start to journal around what it is that are your triggers. So start to take some notes, or bring your awareness to times where you feel impatient and what has triggered that. And then you can start journaling on how you can fix it. It's going to be simple to fix. It's just flipping the switch from your negative to your positive. But it's just having that awareness of finding what it is that you are triggered by that brings in your impatience. If you're a beautifully patient person, then you don't need Patient Polly. and God bless you for the beautiful, patient people that are polite and wait and let other people go first. You guys are my saviors at the supermarket and things like that. So if you are a patient person, you know what? Really give yourself a pat on the back and congratulate yourself for having such a beautiful trait that you are embellishing, and just really embrace that, because it's also good to really be proud of ourselves when we find our positives. So that's my advice for you this week. Hope that helps. Next week we're going to talk about somebody and I don't even know who it is. That's really terrible. However, I will be back. I think it might be Grounded Gretel, because we are now in the self-respect stage of the change journey. So enjoy your week. Tell me what your triggers are for your impatience. I would love to know. And do you know what? When you suggest ideas, and it's some of the reasons I wanted to suggest my ideas tonight, is because that helps other people to say, oh, are they my triggers as well? So if you have your triggers, please share them in the comments, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye.